This episode of Worktapes is sponsored by Duke Timeless Spirits. Duke Spirits is blending modern technology and old school technique by aging their bourbons and ryes in the finest French oak wine barrels from 1932. And listen, I have some firsthand experience drinking their whiskey. It's sweet on the nose and the palate, but there's no burn going down. The spice, the cherry notes, the subtle citrus tones lingers really nice. Duke Spirits offers high-end, well-crafted bourbons, ryes, and tequilas. My favorite being the Extra Añejo Tequila Founders Reserve. Go to dukespirits.com to learn more. And remember, kids, you gotta be 21 to drink alcohol. Never compromise. Drink responsibly. dukespirits.com.
Welcome to Worktapes. This is a podcast where we tear apart songs. Why was the song written? What's it about? What's the context and emotion behind it? Where were you at the time? What were you going through? How did certain lines come to you? What's the inspiration? How long did it take to write? I'm Brandon Carswell, and I'm fascinated with songwriting and how songs are built from the ground up. It's easy to hear a full production song on the radio and dismiss its origin story. I want to hear the rough draft of a song, or the work tapes. I want to explore the very beginning of how songs that move us and make us move are born.
Sit wasting away, waiting for someone to come and notice you. And you deserve it after all, you really do. 'Cause the kids from your old school, they were all so cruel to you. You're waiting on a breakthrough. But no one's gonna make you.
Welcome to Worktapes, everyone. This is Brandon, and today I'm joined by a special guest. I've said that before, but I mean it actually this time. Every other time I didn't mean it. I've known this fella for a super long time, which we can try to conquer that, because I don't know what year I met you, but we're joined by the great Matt Damron.
It's a pleasure to be here, buddy.
Yeah, I'm glad this worked out. It was super last minute. You're in town. Well, you flew in from Canada just to do this podcast.
Yeah, I came in specifically for this.
So thanks for that.
You know, it took months of planning, but I'm glad that I could.
I'm glad my team could fly you out.
Yeah.
No, I'm glad it worked out. It was, we were going to just hang, and I was like, oh, wait, Matt is a songwriter. Let's figure out the podcast.
For sure. We had talked about doing it too, like over the phone or something like
Yeah.
that. But it's much nicer staring into your eyes.
I feel like I'm looking at this mic stand. Hold on. You got it figured out over there.
Yeah.
There we go.
That way I can see you.
So we've known each other, gosh, I've known you since high school. I was in high school when I met you.
Yeah. I would have been in high school too, I think.
Yeah. Junior year or so. Yeah. At least. Junior, wait. I can't remember. I think it was junior year.
I think junior, something like that.
You graduated ahead of me though, didn't you?
Yeah, I think I was. What year did you graduate?
2001?
Yeah. No, same class.
No,
Me too.
2002.
Okay. I was in 2001.
Okay. I can't remember when I graduated. It's one of those 2 years.
Yeah. I mean, it was a long time ago.
It was. And we have done a lot of music together over the years. Gosh, some of my really, really early projects that weren't real great, you were a part of. They weren't great.
They were not real great because I was a part of it.
No. I just pulled you into something that wasn't already bad. And, but then some of my really early demos or recordings that I wanted to do, you did.
Yep.
And we set up in your parents' house in like extra bedroom.
That's right.
And just like rigged some stuff together and figured it out.
For sure.
You were learning recording stuff, and I was needing recording
Yep.
done. So that was some of my those early days are super fun.
For sure, man.
I have good memories of working on stuff with you and just like being able to work with stuff, work on music with your friends is really fun.
Yeah.
When you connect with each other and you're just kind of goofing around and just figuring stuff out. And then fast forward, we played a lot of the same circuit in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Yep.
So we would have I think we played some shows together. We had to have.
Yeah, I'm sure we did.
With your bands and mine.
Yeah.
And my brother.
Like back at the brewery.
At the brewery. If anyone remembers the brewery, it's gone now. Rest in peace.
It's a beautiful parking lot.
It is. And it was not a beautiful venue, but we all played there.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody played there. Like Ben Folds played there.
Yep.
It has a pretty big roster.
For sure.
Of names that went through that. That was a special place to kind of cut your teeth playing because it was pretty raw.
Yeah.
Pretty raw venue.
It's, as things change, as they do, you lose those kinds of spaces, right?
Yeah.
And that was a really special kind of spot.
Yeah, it was great. And then we didn't really, you moved to Canada eventually, which is where you are now.
Yeah.
And then during the pandemic, when things were like locked down, you and I decided in order to not go totally crazy, let's do a remote project together.
Yeah.
So we started a project called Nice Dreams, and we did a 4-song EP.
Yeah, that's right. It was our little pandemic baby.
Mm-hmm. So we would just email each other files and like, hey, I did this vocal, and you did most, I would say 99% of the production on it, drums, bass, vocals, whatever.
Yeah.
And I would write lyrics and whatever, and we just figured it out.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think you did most of the songwriting, things like that for it, and I just kind of helped fill it out. And
yeah,
it was a fun project.
It was fun. I love those songs.
Yeah.
And now tell our listeners kind of what you're doing now.
Yeah, I mean, from a long time ago, I've been recording bands. So I have a studio in Montreal that I run with a friend called Sud-West Recording Service. So we're doing a lot of that, recording up and coming singer-songwriters. And then, of course, I've been writing songs all along. I've got a couple singles out, got an EP a full-length album that's coming out whenever I get around to it.
Yeah.
It's there.
Yeah.
It's just not, released yet. But
cool. That sounds really cool. I've always loved your style of writing. You've been in a lot of different kind of project bands, or whatever. I never knew you as a solo artist. You would always be in a band or started a band or something like that. And some of the early stuff was kind of like indie rock. But I always appreciated like you have a knack for writing really interesting music.
Thank you.
And really interesting riffs and vocal lines and all of that. And so to see what you're doing now is really cool, because I think it's interesting as artists how we kind of start in one space and kind of morph into something different, but you can still, I've had the privilege of following you since you were young.
Right.
So now I can like A/B it. I could literally A/B some of it with old CDs that I have. and kind of listen. Like nowadays I can hear some of that old influence,
Sure.
although it's much more like mature now.
Yeah.
So back like early 2000s, it would have been cool, and it was cool, but it's not what you have now.
Sure.
And so a lot of your stuff now I feel like is, this is just my what I hear. Like Jayhawks.
Definitely.
You like the Jayhawks?
Yeah, I love the Jayhawks. They were a big influence on me.
Yeah, Jayhawks. Like the song we're talking about today sounds pretty Jayhawkish to me, which is a great thing because I'm a big fan. A little Petty-ish, you know, Tom Petty. Maybe you can. Here's like a double question. Like,
Sure.
Let's go back because I don't actually know this story, but how you started getting interested in music and how that grew into like a thing you had to do.
Yeah.
And then that might tie in with some of the musical influences
Sure.
that kind of inform your taste now.
Yeah, I mean, I got into music from a pretty young age, kind of like you did, right? Growing up in church, you're surrounded by music, and I got probably when I was about 12 years old. There was a new pastor at our church, and his son was Justin Stewart.
Yep.
If you remember him.
Yep.
Basically, one day he was like, "We're starting a band," and I was like, "Okay, well, I don't play anything," so I had to learn. My dad played guitar. And so I figured I would pick guitar. And I started learning guitar around then. And, it started off as a lot of teenagers in the 90s would do. I was into like punk music. And, Green Day was awesome and things like that. So really simple, 4-chord songs. Once I learned bar chords, I started writing songs.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where I grew up around so much music. My mom was always singing, I was singing in church choirs and all that kind of stuff, that the melodies for songs just happened.
Right.
I would walk around. I used to get in trouble in school, like before I was even a musician, because I would be humming through class and my teachers would be like, "You're not paying attention."
I would too.
Yeah.
Kids would make fun of me for humming so much.
Exactly. So, it was just, the music was kind of always there. It just needed a conduit to get it out, So fast forward, right? I got into college and started getting into more, heady stuff. Like Radiohead was a huge thing for both of us, I think, around that time. And I had the influence of like the Beatles from the get-go.
Right.
It was, my parents had the Blue album, like the late 60s compilation on vinyl, and I religiously listened to it. So you take things like the Beatles, Radiohead, and then also in college I started getting into the more like Americana type stuff, like the Jayhawks and Tom Petty for sure, like you say. And I think if you take all of those things, that's what my music sounds like to me, at least. It's where because it's where it comes from,
right?
But as you say, I mean, all through it, in early college, I was really into Radiohead, indie music, and even then, you can hear the songwriting like developing,
right?
I think,
yeah, for sure. Well, you went from like being in a punk band, like kind of MXPX kind of vibes,
right?
And to being into like an indie rock band when we used to play the Raleigh circuit, which was more, I mean, I guess it was kind of Radiohead influence. I mean, you can kind of speak to what that band was, but it wasn't exactly Radiohead either.
Right.
So it would have been like, but it wasn't super hard rock. It was cool though.
Yeah.
I liked that band a lot.
Thanks, man. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, college rock. I don't know what to call it.
College rock.
College rock.
It wasn't college rock like in that sense, like bro rock. It was like, it was smart.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. It was smart music. It was good. And I was pleasantly surprised when you started making the kind of stuff you're doing now.
Yeah.
Not that I was like hating anything else, but it was like, oh, I think that there's like a stigma sometimes for music that almost leans Americana or country-ish.
Sure.
Where it's like the stigma being maybe it's not as smart as something like Radiohead or something.
Right.
But I think that's total BS.
I agree. I think that in that time frame that we're talking about, I was making music that was quote unquote smart, or I was obsessed with making music that would be smart.
And by smart, we mean like technical.
Yeah.
Time signatures or whatever.
Yeah. Interesting time signatures, interesting chord changes, vague lyrics that, seem poetic and deep when maybe they're not. I don't know. It was like needing to prove something.
Sure.
But I think, as you say, that in one sense, it's almost like doing the sort of stuff that I'm doing now. It's like it could be perceived as dumbing it down, quote unquote. But actually, it takes so much more work to make something, that is seemingly simple, but, you sneak in a few weird changes or, you make something feel easy and comfortable when it's not necessarily that,
Yeah. And like to make a simple song, you have to think about it pretty hard.
For sure.
It's not always simple. Like sometimes something will fall out, but it's when you want to get an idea across that has more kind of mass appeal and it sounds really easy when you're done and you're listening and the listener has it and it's on the radio or whatever. The listener's not thinking about this took 2 hours or whatever to write or 3 days or however long it took to find this one line. Absolutely. That's very simple.
Yep.
But it doesn't always come simply. No,
not at all. I mean, that, this album that I'm working on, some of the songs are like 10 years old.
Yeah.
They've been, written and rewritten and rewritten and refined. And, I can be a bit of my own worst enemy when it comes to that. It's like overthinking.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm hoping that the next one comes much more naturally and simply.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I feel like I've said this before, but my approach to writing a lot of times, like there are songs I'll toil over and struggle with, but for the most part, I'm kind of just like, yeah, that works.
Yeah.
Let's move on and start the next one or whatever.
That's a good attitude to have.
Well, I think I feel like in my head, I'm writing, I finish this song. And while I'm doing that, I'm thinking about production a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think, well, if anything needs to change and I end up recording this, someone will say, hey, change this line.
Yeah.
Or this is stupid. Or let's speed it up or whatever. Like that's when production comes in.
For sure. But see, the thing is oftentimes for me, I'm my own producer. Right?
Yeah.
So
you're kind of producing as you're writing in your brain.
Yeah, absolutely. And because I usually am the one recording the stuff as well, and then mixing the stuff and, doing all of the steps, it's so easy to just get lost in my own head about all of it,
Yeah.
So I would say that I could branch out from that a little bit. I would like to make a record where I'm just the artist, just the songwriter, the singer, the whatever, and someone else can handle the production.
Right.
But I say that, but the problem is I'm a bit of a control freak.
Okay.
So it's a little hard to let that go.
Right.
Because it's been that way always, even starting back in the day. I think I recorded in 2 studios as a teenager, and I wasn't happy.
Yeah.
And that's really how it started for me. Like, okay, I'm going to be a sound engineer too.
Right.
I'm going to learn how to do this. And pretty much all my bands that I've been in, I've been the engineer.
Yeah. Oh, I should mention this. I just thought about this. So for the people that remember this, that are listening, which is going to be like one, that remember my band Rebel with my brother and Sean Whitworth and Whit Walker, you recorded pretty much one of the only real EPs we ever did.
Yeah.
So if anyone has that, this guy's the reason.
That's me.
And I've always wanted to go back and redo those songs. Because I think you did it for like a school project, right?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. It was part of my, my university stuff.
And we did this in like your basement apartment. And I wouldn't say we did it totally pro. Like, I don't think any of us really knew what we were doing.
No. Yeah.
But it was super fun. And I'll say this, my 13-year-old son has heard those. And he's like begging me to release it. He's
amazing.
Like, put it out on the streaming. I'm like, well, I don't know if the quality's like there for it to level out right.
Right.
He's like, who cares? Just put it out.
Just get it mastered, man.
Maybe.
You know.
If you still have those files, maybe we can talk about it.
Yeah, I don't think that I do, unfortunately.
I'll just throw it in Lander or something.
Yeah, that's it. So. Throw it up there. No, I mean, you can do a lot in mastering. It's true.
Yeah, especially now with AI. And
yeah. Just give it to AI. Tell AI to re-record it for you.
AI is going to write all my songs and do this podcast and everything.
Yeah, for sure.
I've got it working in the background.
Have you ever tried it? Like I've used AI. I've never actually used it. Like I've never successfully used it, put it that way.
Right.
But I've tried, in sort of songwriting prompts. Like if I'm having trouble coming up with what I want this song to be about, or, getting a couple lines going lyrically, because that's usually where I think I struggle the most.
Right.
But we're not there yet, man.
No. I feel like I have not really tried it. I've used it for certain things. I have a really, I don't know if conviction's the right word for this, but I'm going to use that word. I have a strong conviction about not using it for songs.
Totally.
Or songwriting. But the more I think about it and listen to how other writers will write, it's really not much different than, like, for example, I heard the story where Rick Rubin's talking about recording the Heartbreakers, and they went to the store and bought, those refrigerator magnets where you can, they're just words.
Yeah.
You can put them all together. And Petty put them all on a music stand. And like the songs were pretty much done except for lyrics. And so he would just literally pick out words from like a music stand that had hundreds of words on it. It's not that much different.
No, exactly.
And then he'd be writing some huge hit song.
For sure. I mean, like Brian Eno as well, has that whole deck of cards of like, I forget what it's called, but, it's random chance basically.
Yeah.
Like little prompts. You open it up and, it helps you think.
I think that's an interesting way to write. I've never done that, but I've heard other people they'll do like a, like kind of a word tree kind of thing. So they'll think of a word and then they'll think of the next word that word makes them think of.
For sure.
And they'll just write that down into like this whole word tree and form it into an idea and then start writing lines.
I mean, that's smart. I mean, there are people are few and far between that just know exactly what they want to say all the time.
Right. I think that I just want to be like one of those genius guys who's just like, I came up with this line, the whole line, the whole song in 2 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, again, those are rare gems. I mean, Bob Dylan has that sort of, at least that sort of legend around him. But I have to say, I mean,
he's just a dude though.
He's just a dude, right?
Yeah.
And he had to have just thought about this stuff at some point and, come up with a random line and be like, okay, I'm going to put that in the song.
Right.
Because a lot of it kind of reads like gibberish.
That's true.
Right? But
maybe he reads a lot of books and he just takes lines from like obscure books.
Yeah, it's possible.
He's just a thief.
Aren't we all though?
Yeah, we're just stealing ideas. That's kind of what influence does.
Yeah.
Like you listen to the Beatles early on as a kid, and then when you grow up, all of a sudden your song has a pretty cool Beatles bass line in it.
Yeah,
and
that's it.
Who cares?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it's all, it's all being rehashed, right?
Yeah.
It's like, even I heard some song the other day. I was in a restaurant with my parents, and I have no idea what the song was, but they sampled. It's a very famous sample from the Tom Tom Club.
Okay.
That Mariah Carey redid in the 90s.
Okay.
And then this was sampled again for some newer song. And God knows I'm really bad with pop music, so I have no idea who it was. But I was trying to explain to my parents that, like, this is like a third generation
Right.
of of sampling something, of taking an idea and making a new song out of it.
Right. Well, it's like the film industry, and they're just like they're just piggybacking on successful films that were unique.
How many Spider-Men do we need?
Yeah. We need a lot.
A lot.
And we need another Beetlejuice and all of that.
Exactly.
Beetlejuice was fine.
Yeah.
I do want to see the second one.
I haven't seen it yet.
But it was fine. It was a classic. It's like
It's freestanding. It should exist on its own. But at the same time, as musicians, we're doing the same thing.
Yeah.
I'm not that I'm writing Beatles songs, or not that I am a Beatle, right? But clearly those influences are there.
Yeah. Well, what is your writing style like? Like, when you go, how do you know when you've landed on something you want to chase? Like, you have an idea.
It really depends. I mean, sometimes it starts with a melody. It starts with walking around on the street and humming something, or being on the bus or whatever, and just something pops into my head.
Right.
And then usually I'll try to keep humming it so I don't forget it.
Mm-hmm.
If I can voice memo it, I'll just.
Do you sit down ever to intentionally come up with ideas, or do you just let ideas come to you?
I do both. I do both. I mean, I find oftentimes the songs that I like the most are just the ideas that popped in.
Yeah.
Something about it.
Right.
But then I'll sit down with a guitar, or or if I'm tired of writing with the guitar, I'll have a synth or a keyboard or something and try to come up with something.
Yeah.
In a different way. But usually that's then I'm just coming up with a progression. Like chord structure or whatever, and then I have to write a melody over that. So to me, I think the ones that are the most memorable or interesting are the ones that started that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's cool. Which is kind of how you wrote the song we're going to talk about.
Yeah, it's a really good example of that. It's like, I was at a band rehearsal, and it was a band that I was in Montreal once I had first moved up there, and we had a member that was particularly difficult to work with. Some artists can be that way. Great songwriter, really, but just a difficult person at times. And so we had a particularly difficult practice, and I was walking home and just thinking about that, and thinking about this person, and probably not the nicest light.
Yeah.
But I had a really cool melody.
Yeah.
that just popped in, and I was like, okay, that's interesting. I need to remember that. So it is one of those moments where I'm walking down the street, out of breath, humming a song.
Yeah. Which is cool, because you sent me that voice memo of that moment.
When we talked about doing this, I was like, I gotta have some stuff like that.
Yeah, which I may weave into the worktape. So that would be cool to kind of, for listeners to hear. Like, sometimes we have to capture it before it escapes our brain.
For sure.
And then build upon that. I have several of those, and some of them I don't remember, and I'm like, this sounds super weird, and I don't understand why.
I don't know where I was
recorded
going with
this.
For sure, yeah, I had a few of those. I mean, that's actually a nice side effect of having decided to do this, is that I went through all of my voice messages trying to find things, because of course they're not like labeled in any way that makes any sense.
Yeah. Well, I've learned my lesson from that. I try to label everything now.
I should, but I still don't. So, but I found like 1,000 new-ish ideas that I'm like, oh, why didn't that turn into a song?
Yeah. So for all you writers out there, go through your old stuff.
Go through your voice memos.
Don't assume that you hate it.
That's it.
I do that at least a few times. Like, every few months, I'll kind of be bored or I'm like falling asleep, and I'll just be scrolling through old ideas and kind of star one that I'm like, I should work on that this week.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I alluded to it earlier that this album has been, you know, 10 plus years in the making.
Yeah.
And I don't want to do that for the next one.
Yeah.
You know, and going through all these voice memos, I was like, there's a record there.
Totally.
I just got to flesh it all out, but it's, you know,
Yeah.
there's enough material.
For sure. Cool. So the process of this song was you had this idea at band practice. You told me you were walking home, but you were drunk.
Yes, that's true.
That's true.
Yeah.
So ideas even come in your drunken.
I mean, yeah, you know, sometimes altered states of mind you know, make you think in a little different way, whether that's drunk or
totally
who knows.
That's old news. I mean,
yeah,
I think that it was Conan or somebody, one of the Simpsons writers, were like 98% of the time we were wasted or high or something when we were writing those episodes. And
for sure.
Hilarious.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you know, because it makes you think a little outside of what you might normally do, you know.
Or you're more bold. You're more willing to run with something maybe.
For sure. And that, you know, again, this time in particular, you know, a little bit drunk, you know, band practice, you have a few beers or whatever.
You mean you had a Duke Timeless Spirit?
Yes, exactly what I had was a Duke Timeless Spirit bourbon.
Yep, that's our sponsor for this show, by the way. Anyway, yeah. I'm not totally condoning that, but I do agree that, you know.
Yeah.
You know, I think you don't have to do that, but those ideas definitely pop up.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you know, most of the songwriting that I do these days is, you know, stone sober. But
although some ideas in those states are horrible.
That's true too. Yeah.
I've had a couple of moments where in the past I've like gotten high or something. Mm-hmm. And I remember one time, I think it was the very first time I got high. And I was in Chicago and I was working with a guitar pedal company, and we went to a studio party to show off pedals or whatever we were doing. And the owner of the company plugged his bass into this huge pedal board and started messing with all these sounds. Mm-hmm. And that's right when everything started hitting me. Mm-hmm. And so I took out my phone and videoed it. And I was like, dude, this is the most amazing thing I've ever heard. And I watched it the next day, and it was just garbage.
Yeah.
It was just total nonsense noise.
For sure.
But for that, you know, 30 minutes, I literally videoed 30 minutes of him playing.
Did you watch all 30 minutes later?
No. I might have lasted 30 seconds. Yeah. It was like, no thanks.
Yeah.
I'm an idiot.
Yeah, I mean, it happens, you know. I thought you were going to say that you like wrote a song about mashed potatoes or something, but
I wish. That probably would have been better than the video I watched. We can write a song about mashed potatoes after this.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Yeah, so let's I want to listen to this work tape.
Yeah. That
you sent, and then we can kind of go through like what this song's about.
Sure.
If you want, and kind of go from there.
Sounds good.
3, 4. Bum, ba bum, ba ba bum, ba ba da ba ba bum, da ba bum, ba da ba ba bum, ba ba da ba bum, bum, ba bum, bum, ba da ba bum. You sit wasting away, waiting for someone to come and notice you. You deserve it after all, you really do. 'Cause the kids from your old school, they were all so cruel to you. Waiting on a breakthrough. pluck you off the edge of your obscurity. You're waiting on a breakthrough. But no one's gonna make you. You're waiting on a breakthrough. But now no one's gonna take you.
Cool. This is a great work tape. So the work tape on this is a little different than I usually get on this show because this is your band.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And it's kind of the first time you guys ran through it.
Yeah, it's a early take in the process. We, for most of this record, not all of it, because some of the songs I play all the instruments on, but for the songs with the band, we would do sort of a live take with as many of us as possible, and then build overdubs and things on top of
Right.
that. We didn't even necessarily keep everything on all the takes, but if we could get a good like drum, bass, maybe rhythm guitar or something like that, we would keep it.
Yeah. So for all you Matt Damron fans out there, this is a special little,
Yeah. Special look into the creative process.
Yeah. And there's stuff in there like the Wurlitzer or whatever that was.
Yeah.
You didn't keep as much of, at least
In the final
right.
version, yeah, for
in
sure.
the final. So it's cool. It's kind of a stripped back live edition.
Yeah, and you also get to hear my really rough off the floor vocals.
They
but-
sound great.
Thanks,
They're
man.
fine.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, when you know how to sing, you know how to sing. You've got that. So, I haven't even mentioned the title of this song. It's called "Waiting on a Breakthrough."
That's right.
And I really like this song. When you put it out, this past year.
Yeah.
And like I mentioned before, it's kind of got a Jayhawks vibe. It's not a total rip, so I don't mean it like that. It's really nice though. It's
Thanks,
really
man.
hooky.
Yeah.
And we kind of touched on this before we started recording about us hating to make content.
Yeah.
And both of us hate that.
Yeah.
And a lot of artists I talk to do not enjoy the content part of being an artist now.
For sure.
Some do, and some are good at it, and that's fine. I'm not great at it, and I don't enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I don't enjoy that the control it has over me.
For sure. I mean, it is the world that we find ourselves in now as artists, right? It's like there's a meme that keeps going out about it, but it's like, we're not just, songwriters anymore. We have to be content creators and curators and all this other kind of stuff that I particularly am not very good at.
Right.
So
Yeah, and don't care that much about.
yeah, exactly. Doesn't motivate
Until
me.
you realize, like, well, this is what we were talking about before, and I'm weaving it back into the song, but until you feel like, well, nobody's paying attention.
Yeah.
And it's because
Yeah.
you're not doing anything.
You're not doing anything for it. No, and I'm notoriously bad for that.
Yeah. And I'm not saying this song is about content creation. I doubt that that's why you wrote it, but that's the idea of the song, right? Like,
Yeah.
You can't just sit around and wait for something to drop out of the sky.
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, originally this song, as I said, we had sort of had a bad band rehearsal, and I was thinking about this particular guy And just, he was very talented, but didn't do much to like make it known, you know, and then was very frustrated that nobody was paying attention. And I was like thinking about it from that perspective. And I started writing this song, kind of about privilege, kind of about like thinking that you're owed something. And then I realized that, really I'm writing this song about myself. Like I'm the one sitting around going like, nobody's paying attention, man.
Yeah.
And then, also having the realization that, hey, like, why should they?
Right.
There are a million things that, that demands our attention all day, every day. And if I'm not, contributing to the noise, quote unquote, or not, demanding that attention myself.
Right.
Then how can I expect anyone to ever see it or hear it?
Totally.
Or, or no.
And that goes with anything, by the way, that you want to do in life. It's not, just strictly music or whatever, but whatever you're building in your life, I mean, it literally goes with anything. You want your partner to pay attention to you, do the work.
Yeah, exactly.
Stuff like that.
Absolutely. You're totally right. It just, at least with your partner, you can do the work, one-on-one.
Yes. You don't have to develop content.
Exactly.
What if you had to do that?
You don't have to be like a social media influencer.
Hey, honey, I just made this video. You want to see this? About us? It's only about us.
Yeah, exactly.
That actually might be a good idea.
I mean, I think that some people do work out their relationships that way, but
online.
Yeah.
But was that meme I saw where it was like, whenever, this is terrible, but whenever you see the couple that's posting their new fall pics.
Oh yeah.
You know their relationships, and
they're on the rocks
in
man.
The toilet.
They're on the rocks when you see the new fall photo shoot drop.
I love that one.
Yeah.
So dumb.
But probably true. I don't
know. Partially, mostly.
Probably.
That's funny.
But yeah, I mean, that is the thing, right? It's like we can't all be social media influencers,
right?
So with my own career, I try to do the best I can to write songs that I'm proud of and that that I feel are worthy of release,
right?
And then I put them out there, and I try to get some people interested. And it seems like people like it. But
so let me ask you this: what is the breakthrough then? Like, what is your version of a breakthrough for your art or your job or whatever?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
It's a big concept. I recently was in Asia for work, and I met up with a friend who lives there in Japan. We spent some time in Vietnam together, just hanging out. And I was talking about this album a lot. He's another person that I've known for years and years and years. And he was very interested in like, what's the concept of this whole album, right? Like, what's the thing? And I was like, man, I don't know. I have no idea, And so we listened through the whole record together in our hotel room, just talking, and and he was just spitting out ideas, and he's like, this record is the breakthrough. The whole album is the breakthrough for you. In fact, you should just call the album Breakthrough. Yeah. And I felt like a little silly, like that seems a little on the nose, like check out my breakthrough record, but really it's more like,
and you're on the cover busting out of like
talked about it,
a window, and you're ripping your shirt off.
Exactly. Or like stepping out of a limousine with a fur coat and a cigar. I don't know.
Yeah. And a hot girl
on each arm.
Yeah. On each arm.
A couple dudes just for fun.
Don't start. If you start joking, we won't start. We won't stop laughing.
We won't finish telling the story.
We have to wait till the end.
But really, to me, the breakthrough, literally is, like getting through a mental block and actually releasing this stuff that has been on my chest for so long. That's the real breakthrough. The song itself is a little more, like waiting on a breakthrough is and waiting for, that big label to notice you, or like, to get your song picked up on TikTok or, whatever, waiting for that moment where finally somebody realizes, like,
money
you know.
and fame, baby.
Yeah, exactly. That's
Yeah.
it. Which are not things that I want, by the
Right.
way. I have to be honest. Like, I really like being anonymous. I
Yeah.
really like going to the grocery store.
But also it's nice to be noticed for your art.
Sure.
It's nice for people to say, hey, I like this. And a lot of people to say that.
Yeah, that's all I want, really,
Right.
is just hear it and say, hey, man, I like that. That was good.
Yeah.
Cool. That's all I need.
Yeah. It means something to somebody. That's good.
Totally. And, I do make some money off of music, mostly in recording, in the studio setting. But I wouldn't want songwriting to be like my number one source of income,
No.
because I would never make any money.
You might.
No, I
You
just
never know.
wouldn't. It would feel much more like a burden than something that I'm doing because I want to be doing it.
Oh, yeah. Which is a whole other topic of conversation we could go down, which is like, especially in Nashville,
Yeah,
songwriters can get pigeonholed really quick.
for sure.
Like if I get a song of mine that's picked up,
Yeah,
then I feel the burden of, well, I've got to write more songs like this so I can make a paycheck.
that's it.
Or if I get a pub deal based on a certain style of song I wrote, and maybe it's not my like artistry that I'm passionate about,
Right.
then I'm just going to feel like I have a
It's a day job.
a desk job that
Yeah.
I'd hate.
Yeah,
Like I'm writing songs that I don't love.
for sure.
And, there's so many different kinds of people.
Totally.
There are people that can write anything and they love it.
Yeah.
And that's their art and that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily like that. If I could do it, I probably would enjoy it.
Yeah.
Could I write like a Justin Bieber pop song? I cannot do that.
Yeah. But I don't have that.
Can
capability.
I can't write, I don't think I can write like a country pop song. Maybe. But it's not the kind of country that's going to go number one.
Sure.
Unless it's just some new fad.
But, people could get into really weird music
Yeah.
as a fad.
Yeah.
And, then you're a hit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just-
But then
just
I have, again, there's that pressure to keep up.
For sure. No, and I think that that's the thing, that's exactly where I'm going with that, is that I already feel enough pressure.
Yeah.
And I couldn't imagine having to keep up at all times. Like, to be someone along the lines of like Taylor Swift, let's go to like world's number one star right now. Like,
Sure.
just the sheer amount of volume of songs that she turns out, like,
Yeah.
I can't, with co-writers or not, I can't do that.
Yeah.
I don't have that.
I mean, if you were
skill
making
set.
her money, you might find
Maybe.
that skill pretty
I
quick.
might find a way to find it. Yeah, you're right about that.
Yeah, I'll just hire. I was looking at some song that came out. I don't remember who it was, but I had a friend that was a co-writer on it. So I looked at the co-writers, and there were 21 writers on
Holy
it,
cow.
one song,
Wow.
and it just blew my mind. Like I know that happens,
Yeah.
but I couldn't imagine being in a room with 20 people and being like, "Let's figure out this song."
Yeah. Let's do it.
How is that even manageable?
Does it have,
Or maybe it doesn't happen like that. I don't know. Like
maybe it's
when
like
you're all
2-3
together.
people at a time, and then
You're
everybody
sending files
contributes.
back and forth, maybe.
Yeah, maybe something like that. I don't know. It's just not the world that I live in. I can't imagine. I mean, on this record, there are some songs where I was writing them. This would have been like in 2019, I think. I rented a cabin in the woods in Canada, like a very, very stereotypical thing to do, to write songs. I brought a drum kit. I brought
Syrup?
guitars. Yeah. Well, the syrup was there.
It was already
naturally.
there.
It was already there.
Like a syrup tree.
Yeah, exactly. I just poured it from the tap in the tree.
Yeah. You guys have like pipes, like
Yeah.
spigots, syrup
It's a-
spigot,
It's a
maple.
It's a syrup draft system. It's nitro syrup is the best kind.
Nitro syrup. Yeah.
But I was writing songs, and I think I was sharing them with you at the time.
Yeah.
And getting some of your feedback, and I was stuck on some lines, and you helped me out
'Cause of the
with
syrup.
some ideas. Yeah, I was really high on
Sticky.
maple syrup. Yeah, I physically
Sorry,
could
I'll
not
stop.
write.
I'll stop.
But that's about as close to co-writing as I come.
Yeah.
Like bouncing an idea off a friend
Sure.
and seeing what they think.
Yeah.
what sticks.
Yeah. It's because of the syrup.
Yeah.
So, No, I think that that's smart. You don't like, not everybody is cut out to co-write. And
Yeah.
also you're not going to co-write well with everyone.
Sure.
It's not possible.
Yeah.
Just like you're not friends with everyone.
Totally.
You could, you can have a normal job and not enjoy or work well with somebody
For sure.
That's just part of life.
Yeah.
But when you do connect with somebody that writes well with you, it's really nice.
Yeah.
Because you don't feel that like pressure or judgment or that thing where like you have to say, well, this is probably stupid, but here's my line.
Right.
You just do it.
Yeah.
And there's like I could count on one hand how many people I connect. You're probably one of them. If we sat down to write, it would be fine. My brother's one.
Yeah.
But it is a challenge. And I actually think it's a pretty good challenge to put yourself in that position where it's uncomfortable to co-write.
Yeah.
Because it's a good learning experience. And I will say, to your point about renting a cabin, that's for any writer, really anybody, like you want to go get something done, you should do that.
Yeah.
You should go, if you can, get away without all the distractions.
Yeah.
I did that here in town. I just went, there's about 40 minutes away, a place called Ashland City. It's right outside of Nashville.
Okay.
And my friend has this old, it's not an Airstream, but I forget the brand. But anyway, it's like an Airbnb for him that he rents out. And I just rented it for 2 days.
That's awesome.
Stayed up in that little cabin, had a fire. Wasn't a cabin, but the Airstream thing. And wrote 5 or 6 songs.
Yeah.
Some of them were garbage. A couple of them I made records on.
Yeah. I mean, that's also a good point, is, saying that a couple of them were garbage. I mean, which maybe you're being a little judgmental of yourself, but
No, those ones literally garbage.
it was a song about garbage. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's something that is really important, right? Is no matter if the song is great or not, you still need to go through that exercise and do it. Write the song. Don't scrap it. Like when you're working on the verse, write the song,
Complete it.
do the whole thing.
Yeah.
And then if you use it, great. If you don't use it, cool.
Yeah.
But just learn, learn through the process.
Totally.
That's something that I'm saying this to myself, much like this song is telling myself, like, stop sitting around, stop waiting on your breakthrough, like make your breakthrough.
Right.
So much of my advice to songwriters is always advice to myself.
Right. Which is good.
Because I'm not always the best at taking my own advice.
Exactly.
But
yeah, don't sit on your hands and expect the world to come calling.
Exactly.
It's not how it works.
Sadly, no one has yet to hear my songs and say,
They're going to hear it now because you're on a world famous podcast.
oh yeah, right.
Is this your first podcast
I think this is my first podcast. Yeah.
that you've been featured on?
Yeah. My girlfriend's a little bit jealous because we make jokes about making a podcast together.
Oh, really?
And she was like, I thought that was our thing.
Mm.
And I was like, well, I got to try it out with Brandon first. We'll see.
You're like, well, Worktapes is a big deal. So
It's a big deal.
you
I
know.
can't say no.
Yeah. This is going to be episode 47.
47.
Wait. Yeah, I think.
Or
8.
I have to say I did my research yesterday.
You did?
And
You listened to
through-
all
I listened to
47
all
episodes
47
yesterday?
episodes, yep.
That's a lot of hours.
Yeah, exactly.
There's actually
It's-
not enough time.
Each
in
one
the
is about an hour. So yeah, I did it all yesterday. Yep.
Yeah.
No, I was just impressed with the number of episodes you got, man.
Oh,
It's really
did you
cool.
listen to any?
I did.
What did you listen to?
I listened to the one with the guy from the All American Rejects.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Nick.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
It's cool. Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff in that one I didn't realize about them,
Yeah.
which is
Same.
really fun.
Same. I mean, I remember getting into them because of Swing Swing
Yeah.
in my early, I guess that would have been college.
Yeah.
And thinking it was cool. It was cool that it was on the radio because it didn't seem like
Yeah. They're,
a radio song.
well, also like the fact that, and all of this is in his episode, by the way, for the listeners. So if you're rehashing, sorry, but the fact they worked with Danny Elfman.
Yeah.
And they did stuff on like Nightmare Before Christmas and a ton of other random stuff I had no idea, and wrote with
Me either.
Weezer, and
Yeah.
I had no idea any of that was the thing.
No, me either.
So anyway, that was cool. I forget what number episode that was, but it was with Nick Wheeler. So if anyone out there wants to go check it, you can scroll through the episodes. Thanks for listening to that.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I just wanted to know what I was getting myself into.
Yeah, I'll send you a couple other ones that you might be into as far as like music.
Yeah,
you know,
for
you
sure.
might not want to hear us gab on for an hour about it, but there's some really good writers and music that have been featured on here that I think, just like yours, like I really feel like this podcast can be a good platform for like what we're talking about, like the breakthrough thing.
Yeah.
I don't think I have a ton. I don't look at the stats all the time, to be honest. It's not a ton of listeners.
You just looked 5 minutes ago.
Yeah. I just looked right now. I look every 5 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
But it is growing a little bit. And I think that one of my missions for this little podcast is I don't want to corner myself into only interviewing big songs.
Sure. Yeah.
I want them to be good songs.
Yeah.
You know,
For sure.
big songs are fine. I'm probably not going to interview somebody that I just hate their music.
Yeah.
It would be really hard for me to do.
Right.
But I might if it
Yeah.
really pays off.
Challenge yourself.
Yeah. If they're like, hey,
If they're willing to pay you,
yeah, if you guys want to pay me to be on this
Yeah,
show, that's
exactly.
fine. You know,
then anybody.
send me an email.
Yeah.
I'll send you my rate.
Send me an email.
Hey, I know you're going to hate my music, but I'll pay you
Yeah. That's going to be my new approach
for podcasting.
for everything in life.
Actually,
I know
every
everybody-
guest on this show has to pay me. I don't know if
Yeah.
I told you that.
I forgot to bring money, but
Well, we will work something out.
Okay.
You brought me coffee.
fair enough. That's true. I did. So
I was
did
going to
pay.
go down like a dark joke there, but I'm not going to.
I appreciate that about you.
You brought me Larry's coffee from Raleigh,
From Raleigh, North Carolina.
which is great.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got this record. You don't really have a timeline for when it's going to come out.
The mixes are done, but this is the thing when you're doing it yourself is that
You got to fit it in.
Are they ever done?
Yeah, right.
But yeah, it's all done. I just need to get it mastered and released. I was hoping to do a vinyl run as well, but it's very expensive.
Yeah.
So if anybody wants to GoFundMe, just
Yeah.
After you hear this song, maybe you're really gonna love it.
Yeah. Well, I would if I had it.
Send me an email.
Send them an email. I'm really excited to hear how many songs is it?
9.
9 songs.
Yeah.
You couldn't just do
Classic.
one more?
Nope.
Come on.
That's the record. Yeah. That's
I'm
me
gonna
though. That's so me. Like
I'm going to write a song for you just to even it out.
I mean, I have more songs, but is it going to be on the record? No. Because,
You want 9.
like this body of work.
Should you do 9.5?
Yeah. There's a secret song.
9.5.
There's a
Remember
classic
it's
secret
hidden
song.
songs?
Yeah.
You can't do that anymore.
Well, I just did.
You just did it.
Yeah, I did
You'd
it.
have to have like a 10-minute song, which I guess that's how you do it.
Yeah. Put it on streaming. It's going to be great.
That's how you did it on CDs, actually. So
Yeah.
it's the same thing.
It's going to be great for playlists.
Like the last song on Nirvana's Nevermind is like 12 minutes long because there's another song.
Yep, exactly. Green Day as well.
Yeah.
On Dookie.
Yeah.
And I was listening to Oasis the other day because,
Because they're coming back.
they're coming back. And I didn't realize that there was a secret song on whatever album I was listening to.
Oh, what album is it? Now we have to know.
Maybe it was Standing on the Shoulders. I don't know. I don't remember.
Man, they're a fun one to go back to.
Super fun. I really like that record.
Those
Specifically.
recordings sound insane.
Yeah. Some of it sounds terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, in my personal opinion.
Well, like Morning Glory sounds pretty great.
Yeah. But oftentimes it's just guitars swallowing everything. It's like, is there a drum kit here? Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter because you have that Brit tone.
Exactly.
baby. We don't care about drums.
Don't care about drums. That's it. Exactly. No, but it really was cool to go back to. And
Yeah.
wow, because that stuff was really important to me back then.
Yeah, me too. And I think it was really easy to kind of disregard in my young age how great those songs were.
Yeah, for sure.
Like such good songwriting. And I don't know how they did that, but
Well, they know how they did it.
Yeah, they must kill each other.
Yeah.
But they got it done.
They got it done. Genius.
We'll see who kills each other now when they get back together.
Yeah, I'm banking on them playing maybe 2 shows and then canceling the rest.
You think they're doing it just for money? You think they just actually?
Definitely, 100%. I think, didn't Noel just go through like a really expensive divorce?
Oh, maybe that's what it is.
I feel like that's it.
It's just money.
Just money, man.
They don't like each other now. Still.
No, they still. Well, but I wonder like how much of that is true. Like, do they really hate each other, or is this just like part of the legend that they have to uphold?
Well, like one of the Black Keys records, they did a whole campaign on how like there was some rumor started that they can't stand each other, and it wasn't true at all.
Right.
But they were like, let's just run with it. And
Yeah.
just make a marketing thing out of it. And they did. They made videos and everything about them hating each other.
Amazing.
And it worked. It's great.
Yeah.
They just made fun of it. Last question.
Yeah.
You can go back and listen to one record again for the first time as if you've never heard it before.
Okay.
What is it?
Oh, man. That's really hard.
I know. That's why I asked it.
it.
This has been easy so far.
Geez. I really want to know what yours would be, but we don't have to do it on the show.
Mine's OK Computer.
Yeah, that seems about right. Makes sense.
I feel like a lot of people would probably say that, but my last guest said the Bends.
Yeah, I love the Bends too.
I just have a distinct feeling, like memories of how that felt when I heard that for the first time in high school.
For sure. I would love to hear OK Computer again for the first time.
Yeah.
I don't think that that's going to be my answer, but I would love to hear that as well. Like, I remember how I felt as well. And it just...
I mean, I have a stack of answers, probably.
I mean, I'm going to say something lame like Sgt. Pepper's, but... That's
a great one.
That's probably what I'd like to hear.
The Beatles, Sgt. Pepper's. That's an excellent one. I haven't listened to that in a very long time.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't either. In fact, I haven't listened to the Beatles at all in a very long time. But they're still constantly one of the biggest, looming influences over my head that I can never shake,
Do you have a story? I'm only asking this because we've known each other for so long, and then we'll go. Do you have a memory or a story about our friendship that might be funny or dumb or anything?
Man, there are so many. We have known each other for so long.
Yeah.
That,
we've done stupid things together too.
Many stupid things. That's the thing. I recently found, because I just moved in July, so I found like one of those high 8 cassette
we used to
tapes, because we used to make movies all the time.
That's the camcorders.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't have a way to play it anymore.
Man.
And it has really cryptic things written on it. So
most likely we were drunk.
Yeah, so who knows?
Well, we used to take like real short snippets, like we'd record for like a second or two and then compile this whole
a whole
ridiculous thing,
wild thing. And I really hope that there's some of it on there, but I've got to find a high 8 camcorder,
the adapter thing,
in order to play it. Well, because it won't play on a VHS. You have to have the camcorder itself.
I have one. I still have mine from when we
then
made those. I don't know where it is, but I still have it.
Like, because there are like places where you can take them and they'll but I can't vouch for what's on this thing. So I want to be the one to verify. I'm not going to show it to a stranger, but
there's so many that are just like, I think one of my favorite stories, I'll leave names out of it just for the sake of it, but one of my favorite memories was one of our buds fell asleep on the couch, and to wake him up, we slapped him in the face with
pickles.
Pickle.
Yeah, with lots of pickles. Which
is just ridiculous and dumb, but man,
we did it.
We were dying laughing.
And we laughed about it for years.
And still do.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. Yeah. So many memories.
Yeah, like the funny thing is that they are hilarious, and I think that if somebody else, listening to this were there,
Yeah.
they would laugh too.
Yeah, but they're not going to laugh about
they're
our
not gonna
stories.
laugh
You're right. They're like, they've already pressed stop.
Yeah.
They're not listening to this part.
We're done. They're not listening.
Well, thanks for being here. Thanks for coming all the way from Canada just to do this podcast.
Yep. Yeah, my private jet is still waiting. I'm going to have to get back on it and go back to Canada right after this.
But yeah, it was unexpected surprise.
Yeah.
And I really enjoy the song. Looking forward to the record.
Thank you, man.
Do you have a website or anything?
Bandcamp.
Bandcamp, which is, what is that?
My name, Matt Damron.
Damron.
That's correct.
Cool. Well, everybody go listen. Check out Matt Damron. And hopefully we'll have you back when the record comes out.
Yeah, I would love to.
We can go through it one song at a time.
Yes, exactly. Really.
Right.
But thank you so much for having me.
Dude,
Really
yeah.
much fun.
Cool.
But now no one's gonna take you.
When we're gone, what will be left behind? Beside trust funds or coin collections, we live on through our stories, the legends and legacies that tell of our greatest successes, our wildest ideas, our biggest failures. And what better vehicle for a story than music? Our musical heritage holds many truths about our humanity, and perhaps even more mysteries.
I mean, my whole thing here is basically a theory. There's nothing here that I can prove or disprove.
Join me in my quest for answers as I explore untold stories.
Breathe a little bit of life back into Dial Song. That's my contribution to the band.
Go on unforeseen adventures.
We are getting in Unit 92.
My son Walker, this one's for you.
This is Will's handwriting.
Dive deep into conversations with some household names.
Hey, this is Amy Grant.
Hey everybody, it's Vince Gill.
Hello, this is Ben Folds.
And peer into dusty corners of the internet.
I am in full belief that Pink Floyd intentionally wrote their album, Dark Side of the Moon, to line up with The Wizard of Oz.
Hear from those whose hearts define what it means to be human.
That music, it don't discriminate. It's one of the things I know that bring people together.
If you put a smile on a kid's face, then you've done a day's work.
And those who knew the stakes of their calling.
My first thought was, this is 50 grand. This is worth 50 grand.
And they heard me sing, and they said, well, wait a minute, we're getting ready to do this Scooby-Doo thing, get him.
Join the journey as I see how far my questions can get me. What is the power that music holds to do this kind of thing?
It's like a scientist, I don't really know why this works all the time, but every time I do it, it works.
But when we search for answers, we rarely find the ones we expect. And sometimes we realize that we don't need an answer at all. From Wise Company Productions, I'm Jonas Litton, and this is Stories and Sounds.
Stories and sounds. Oh, everywhere you turn, there's a dream in a making. Any step you take, there's a history waiting. Sing, where are you now? Oh, 'cause we're ready for your stories and sounds.
Available wherever you listen to your favorite sounds.